Well, it's been a minute since we had him back on the show, so we're really excited to bring back WGN's Ben Bradley, the Emmy Award-winning investigative reporter who has spent 25 years covering hard news in Chicago. And the story of Tiffany Henyard, and now, of course, losing in the primary election yesterday, will not be reelected or have the opportunity to be reelected as mayor of Dolton. And again, this is the piece of audio that made Ben Bradley and us friends.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No.
And Ben, welcome to the show. We appreciate you and want to thank you for all your service to Chicago and especially the city of Dolton for staying on this story for 2 years, having doors slammed in your face. And does this feel like vindication for you and also for the people? Thank you. Welcome in.
Oh, good to be with you guys again. You know, it's not about me. I feel like we were able to use the attention and the resources of WGN to shine a light on a community that needed it. You know, we were not the first ones who were raising concerns about Mayor Tiffany Henyard's spending and leadership and allegations that she was, targeting her opponents. The trustees who 4 years ago ran with soured on her, and they were raising these issues in meetings, and some of the local publications down in the south suburbs, were doing their best to cover it. But it wasn't until we got involved. And at one point, thanks to our parent company, Nexstar, they agreed to file a lawsuit against the village of Dolton to force them to follow Illinois transparency laws and turn over spending records. So that's just a role that we are able to do in the media ecosystem, which is to say we've got the time and the resources and the spotlight to shine a light on what's going on in a community that wherever corruption is happening, those who are doing it generally count on the fact that no one's watching. And by that, I mean the residents.
Right. Absolutely. Because I get that. We're all residents of somewhere, and I feel like I'm not paying attention to local spending. You have a lot going on. You're managing, your family, your own job, things like that.
Yeah.
So what you did was so important, and we're really grateful for it because you obviously had lots of doors slammed in your face.
Yeah, Ben's being
very questions to ask.
Ben's being very humble. He had doors slammed in his face and went into hostile environments to not only had the resources of WGN TV, but you did it. You were at the tip of the sword in getting this information out there. And now look at it. Now Tiffany Henyard cannot be mayor of Dolton. And I don't know much about Jason House, one of her allies, of course, back in the day. But at least there's a choice that shouldn't lead to heavy corruption in Dolton, I hope.
Yeah, we hope.
Yeah, and Jason House, to his credit, was one of the trustees who was speaking out against Tiffany Henyard and brought in Lori Lightfoot to do the outside investigation. So I think residents there are hopeful. Heck, they gave him 88% of their vote, which, as you know, in today's climate, you don't see too many landslides.
Absolutely. And speaking of the investigation, I know that it is ongoing. Do you have any updates? Is there anything that we should know about that investigation against her?
If anyone has insight into how the FBI operates, I would love to know, because they serve subpoenas in both of the governments that Tiffany Henyard runs, so Dolton and Thornton Township, which, you may have never heard of it, but it's the largest township in the state of Illinois, and it covers, nearly a dozen south suburbs. And the FBI served those subpoenas more than 7 months ago. I know for a fact that, people who we have profiled who have said that they've been victims of corruption or retaliation under Tiffany Henyard's watch have told us that after the story aired on WGN, the next day they got a call or a visit from the FBI.
Wow.
So I know that the FBI is actively investigating this. What I can't tell you is why it takes so long. And that has been $1 million question. Look at Mike Madigan, right? He was just found guilty earlier this month. The Tribune and other reporters have been reporting on the House Speaker's shady deals for 25 years.
Jeez.
Unreal. What do you think they're going to do with that ice rink down there that Tiffany Henyard built?
Well, it doesn't get a lot. It didn't get a lot of use under Tiffany Henyard. Residents told us it was only open when she would host events there.
Yeah.
So I hope, as I said, I went to Tiffany Henyard's quote unquote election party last night. A, I was shocked they let me in. B, it was probably because there were only 10 people there and Henyard herself didn't show up.
Wow.
But as I said to somebody as I was leaving last night, a longtime Henyard supporter, I said, I hope you don't see my face down in Dolton for a long time. And they laughed and said, me too. Hey, and I do have to say, to Tiffany Henyard's credit, the mayor got on the phone with me last night. So after she didn't show up at her party, she got on the phone with me and we talked for a bit. She said, don't count her out. But she said she got the message from voters.
Well, with Brandon Johnson's approval rating at an all-time low for Chicago, is she up for a run for Chicago mayor
God,
coming
Brian.
up in a few years?
Don't count her out.
Oh, man.
She said don't count her out.
She is. So the township, the local Democrats refused to slate her to continue in her other six-figure job as Thornton Township supervisor. That election's April 1st, so she's not slated as a candidate, but she did file to run as a write-in. But, presumably after what we saw in Dolton last night, that's not going to work. So after the April 1st township election, Tiffany Henyard, at least for now, won't be making any money off the taxpayers.
Last question for you, Ben Bradley. And again, we appreciate you so much coming on the show over the last couple of years with this story. Tyler, one of our listeners, Tyler, checked in and said, so what's Ben's next big story on WGN TV?
Well, today we're doing a Dolton the day after, and we're going back and visiting some of the people who have been the focus of our stories. And so we'll have that tonight on the news. And then I've got a little nugget that's kind of fun about Elon Musk's Doge and the cost cutting that they've claimed as it relates to the Obama Presidential Center. So we'll have that. There's your tease. Listen, our promotions department doesn't even have that tease, so Q101 got it first.
Let's go. Let's go.
The eloquent tea spilling from Ben Bradley. I love it.
Well, thank you again, and we can't wait to have you on again about these stories coming up. And Ben Bradley, WGN TV's investigative reporter, the best in the business. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Always great to be with you guys.
All right, take care, Ben. Wow, we got a little extra thing there, Kenzie.
Uh-oh.
Boom. It is interesting, that Obama Center. I remember hearing about that like 15 years ago. Something like that time frame of when that was going to be built. And as far as I know, there's not a shovel in the dirt down there on that thing.
Well, let me tell you something. Ben Bradley's on it. There's going to be shovels now. Ben's in town.
Or they're going to all be thrown in the lake. There'll be no shovels.
There will never be. There's either going to be lots of shovels or no shovel ever because he shuts it down. I don't know the angle of the story yet.
Make sure you check him out on WGN TV tonight with those stories and all day long, the Dolton stuff. And, if you missed any of that interview, if you came in at the end, it will be on the podcast, the Brian Kenzie podcast. Such good insight from Ben Bradley of WGN TV.